All right. We are live again with the daily Parks and Rec show. I have a special guest, Molly Keays. She's the director of South Windsor, Connecticut, one of the shining stars coming up through the Young Professionals Network and is really doing a lot to promote that. But she's got a really good backstory about how she got into Parks and Rec. And I wanted her to share that with the community, especially to young people that are looking at this as an industry to dedicate their life to,
Mm,
dedicate their time and energy to. And I think hearing people's story like Molly really gives people a front row seat as to what it's like to work in Parks and Rec. And so, Molly, how are you doing this week?
yeah, I'm doing really well. Spring's happening in New England. We love
Oh,
that.
that's got to be
Yeah.
gorgeous.
Ah, no more snow. So thank
Yeah,
you for having me on the call, though. I'm excited to chat a little bit today.
yeah, great to have you. So maybe if we can go all the way back to when you were a high schooler, who you were, if you were in
Mm,
sports, if you were in camping, what grades, what subjects did you like? Just so that the high schoolers can get to know you
gosh.
back then a little bit better.
Yeah. Ooh. So I grew up in Rochester, New Hampshire. So it's a seacoast area of New Hampshire. Um, I've always been involved in, different sports. So I did softball, basketball. My main sport was swimming.
Mhm.
I was a competitive swimmer from 8 years old all the way, until I was an adult.
What was your
Um,
favorite, stroke
well, so it's
or pace?
freestyle, and I actually did long distance. I'm pretty short, so
Mhm,
long distance was
mhm.
favorable for my height.
Nice.
Um, yeah, yeah. So, you know, sports was always kind of a part of who I was. Um, However, I think my biggest and most impactful experience really growing up and what shaped me was attending Camp Coney Pine. It was a day camp that was a part of like Granite YMCA day camp. I started going there when I was pretty young, and it was just a happy place, right? Summer camp is one of those things that no matter who you are, you can always be yourself, right? They encourage you to get out there, explore new interests, and just genuinely have a good time. And um, every summer I went back there, and I was able to start working there when I was in high school at the age of 15. But I think what really connected me to that piece was I did have a younger sister who was born with a disability, and my parents had to dedicate a lot of time and energy and resources to her care just to make sure she was successful. And camp kind of gave me that space to thrive and be Molly, right? And not
Mhm.
have any responsibilities because you're a kid. And I loved it so much. And I want to say, gosh, I mean, I'm turning 30 this year. So um, I was probably 10, right? And my parents were having a financial hardship and they were going to pull me out of camp. And it was something that was super devastating because, again, that was my space that I could be Molly. And that moment of impact that I like to say threw me into working for camp and Parks and Recreation was when the camp director Kelly stepped in and really told my parents, like, you're not gonna withdraw Molly or even her sister. They knew how much camp meant to me, and she walked them through different options and really showed me firsthand what it was like to remove barriers to make sure that everyone had access to opportunities, no matter the situation.
Mm.
Um, yeah, so I kind of dove into working at that point. My path was Y heavy. So 15, camp counselor, CIT, program director. I worked after school program, site director, taught mommy and me swim class, lifeguarded, did all of those things where I was able to, work with youth and show them new interests and help them build their self esteem, teach them new skills in sports and high ropes and swimming, and all of those things ultimately led me to broaden my experience and end up at Springfield College. So
Yeah.
that's kind
Now,
of a little bit of background.
I remember you told me there was a time there was an event with your sister where you know, she wasn't gonna be able to afford, or your mom wasn't gonna be able to afford to put her in,
Mm.
and who was it that helped out and that really had a big impact on you?
Yes, the summer camp director, actually. So that summer camp director, Kelly, I'll forever remember her. She's one of those role models, right? That stepped up to make sure that, no matter what, you're going to be able to afford this experience. You're going to be like every other kid and attend this camp. And that financial burdens were never an issue when it came to making sure that everyone had that access.
Mm.
It was great.
Yeah, and that's, and is that something that you kinda carry with you today as you see, you know, all the little kids that can come through your program, that you wanna make sure that no kid gets left behind, get left out, and how does that manifest itself in your, like, day to day?
Yeah. So truly, I think, again, moment of impact, right? So that's something that shapes you, it sticks with you. And I realized that I wanted to make sure that I was that person for other people.
Mm,
And I think when you're going through the experiences of working in different nonprofits, for profits, recreation, you come across kids and adults, right? That all have stories. And you see how hard it can be and the hurdle sometimes for people to access programs, whether it's access to swim lessons, wellness programs, summer camps. And when you hear the stories of how hard it is for them, but when they are able to be there and how it impacts their life in a positive way, it makes you want to drive to make sure that you're working towards looking at systems, updating policies, and procedures, making sure you're finding alternative funding sources so they all can have those positive experiences.
mm, yeah. And so now I always ask people to kinda dig into their why a little bit, you know, why
Mm,
you do what you do. Why hasn't Parks and Rec run you off with all the complications and
yeah,
instability? And it seems like they're throwing all kind of new things at you that many people in other careers could say, how is this in my job description? And yet in Parks and Rec, that's just what you do every day before lunch a
yeah,
couple times.
yeah. Um, I think that if everyone is passionate about what they do, that drives your why.
Mm,
And again, my why stems back to making sure that everyone has that access. And it really solidified for me. So the humanics philosophy is something that I follow heavily. Springfield College taught me that, and it's a value really that emphasizes educating the whole person, spirit, mind, and body for leadership and service to others.
mhm,
So it's really just making sure that everyone has balance. They have the opportunity to get, further education programs, further wellness programs. And my why again is to really make sure everyone feels welcome. Everyone has a way in no matter their background. And that means doing the work. So I'm
mm,
always looking at our systems, our facilities, again, our policies and procedures. And I'm also looking at our staffing. Like, how are we empowering our staff to then serve those community members?
yeah.
And end of the day, like you see the people laughing, smiling, the kids that are able to make new friends, the ones who are able to finally, swim on their own. And it
Mm,
keeps driving you because you see the results, you see the impact. And
yeah.
I don't think I'll ever want to stop that.
Yeah, so maybe you can say a little bit more because you've got,
Mm.
other industries that maybe pay a little bit better. Of course, y'all have typically great benefits coming from, city government, but,
Mm,
you know, the rest of the planet, gets compensated with a paycheck, and that's it. That's all they get. They better get
yeah.
all their happiness out of that paycheck because everything else they're not, in addition to their paycheck, getting the fulfillment, the impact, the feeling that you're leaving a legacy, that you're working on something that's building your community, whether from a beautification standpoint or even from having an impact in people's lives. So it's like you almost get like 9 paychecks. One is got dollars on it, but then let's describe all these other paychecks that, um,
Mm.
that keep Parks and Rec people so attached to their job and their industry.
Yeah, I mean, I think when it comes down to it is, again, community engagement, right? Like, that's a huge piece. Like, we get to engage with that community, and every day someone is impacted by parks and recreation. So,
Mm,
on any given day, we'll go down in the pool, we'll see, folks swimming at our pool facility. You take a walk on the trails and you see people, with their family and friends, just chatting, able to get outside and have access. You have the fitness classes at the facility where you're able to make that positive impact by folks getting to exercise and socialize. We have kids in preschool learning new skills. We have our signature events where you bring people from all walks of life, and I think being able to have such a variety of experiences, it keeps people in our industry like excited, and wanting to be a part of that action, because it's not just sitting at a desk, right? You're not just collecting a paycheck. You're not just answering emails all day. You could be running those signature events, developing, like, for example, like a farmer's market. You could be preparing an aquatics facility, prepping summer camp, preschool, before and after school, yoga, Aikido, like the list goes on and on. It's so
Mm.
varied. And then like athletics, right? So you're doing a variety of different athletic opportunities.
Mhm.
Um, there's nothing stagnant in what you're doing.
Yeah. And so you have, at least I have on here, 21 full-time
I
people
do.
that you're working with, and
Yep.
then 200 part-time.
Yes.
Maybe describe this part-time staff of,
Mm.
because a lot of these are, I imagine a good portion of these are high school and college age kids for lifeguards, concession stands, summer camp workers. Can you kinda describe those roles?
Yeah, so in the summer is when we have the bulk of our part-time staff, and that would be our snack shack concessions over at the pool facility, lifeguards, pool supervisors. We have summer camp, which is like 75 employees. We actually also have a dedicated event staff, which it's a blend of high school and college. So our event staff, work with our events coordinator to be hands-on, excited, putting on our 2 or 3 events that we have per week, right?
Mhm.
And then we also have folks that are working in our sports that tend to be high school, whether they're leading our basketball program or they're helping with cornhole or just a variety of different activities. And then our weeknight supervisors, so facility supervisors,
Mhm.
majority are high school. And then they stay through college, right? So they grow up in our programs. They love the experience of being a participant, and then they learn that they can then continue on that legacy for the kids in the community. So they stick with us, and
Mhm.
the cultures of the programs are so positive. The staff all get along super well. They enjoy putting on those experiences for the kids and for the adults in the community.
Mhm. Yeah, and maybe we can take this little opportunity. I had, some of my video content creators make, a short little 1 minute to kinda, that any director or any superintendent or anybody in charge of these high school, these younger age groups could play, say, during an orientation right
Mm,
before summer camp starts. And, if someone like yourself were to just, and again, you can find these on our YouTube channel, go to the playlist section, it says career, and there's 4
okay.
or 5 videos you could press play on in front of high schoolers maybe the week before they start. And then that would help plant the seed, hopefully, and then maybe spark a conversation that you or someone on your staff could give a testimony of what it's like to work in Parks and Rec. So, this was just our wave one. We're going to involve, we've got about 6 or 7 other guys, in Parks and Rec, like yourself, Molly, that are gonna help create and dial in even more another wave of,
Yeah,
career videos, but we'll play one and we can chat about it after. Hold on
awesome.
one second.
Hi there. Have you ever stopped to think about the magic of parks? The laughter of kids on a swing, the joy of family picnics, or even the peaceful moments on a hiking trail? What if you could be the one creating those moments? Imagine a career where you get to design vibrant spaces, host exciting events, and protect the beauty of nature for everyone to enjoy. Parks and Recreation isn't just a job, it's a chance to leave your mark on the world and create memories that last a lifetime. Did you know that colleges across the U.S. offer amazing degrees to help you launch a career in Parks and Recreation? From urban planning to environmental conservation, these programs equip you to make a real impact in your community. Parks and Recreation professionals across America are building legacies and transforming lives. Now it's your turn. Want to know more? Head to our YouTube channel, The Daily Parks and Rec Show, where we share stories, advice, and inspiration from those shaping our parks and communities. Don't miss out. Follow us, subscribe, and join the movement.
Yeah, so that's one of about 3 or 4 they have on there that anyone's welcome to use. You don't need I'm giving
Yeah.
everybody permission. You don't have to ask. They're free. Take them. Use them, put them to work. Um,
Uh, And so something that just stuck out to me specifically in that video too is talking about the variety of college, degrees that you can pick that translate into a career with Parks and Recreation because people
mm,
assume automatically, right? Unless you're going to school for recreation management, you can't get into the field, which is
mhm,
it's untrue. It's a niche thing if you're just going for rec management, but you can be an environmental planner. You can be sports management. You can be business management. You can be,
mhm,
um, you know, athletics, right? Specifically, there's just so many different pieces that all correlate and translate into the
mhm.
field. So folks don't have to give up on their maybe childhood passion, right? But they just have to learn how to translate that into Parks and Rec.
Yeah, that's
So,
actually, I'm glad you said that. One of my better, they're all good, but one of the guys I interviewed was an accountant. He got an accounting degree.
mhm,
He's doing a great turn now naturally, his cost recovery and his finances are stellar because that's his background,
right,
for the Parks and Rec. So he was able to bring this, this background of accounting and running books and being great with finances and just brought that to Parks and Recreation. Now he was a collegiate athlete, so he had, a lot of experience in sports and stuff like that. But yeah, just to your point, a lot of Parks and Rec directors come from all walks of life. And so just because you don't have a Parks and Rec degree from a college that specifically targets Parks and Rec people doesn't mean that it's not right for you. There's such a diverse talent pool needed to run parks departments.
when I look at all of my full-time staff, majority of them did not go to school for recreation,
Mm,
and they are such an incredible group of innovative, thought-provoking folks that really work hard, and they love what they do and they're passionate and they bring pieces of their educational background, their experiences to really enhance those areas. So I heavily believe in the fact of you don't have to go to school just for rec. Is it great? Yeah, you get that experience. You might
yeah.
learn when you're a little bit younger that you love it. But I think that it's never too late to get into the field.
Yeah, I'm trying to look up right now. I had a girl on the show. She's up in Arkansas. She's the director. I think it's Fort Myers.
Okay.
Who is it, Katie? No, it's right here. I'm looking through my YouTube channel trying to find her name, but when I talked to her, she basically her story was I fell in love with Parks and Rec at a fair, and I was a Ferris wheel operator. So she was like, the people operating the Ferris wheel, fell in love with it, saw all the joy that it brought the families and stuff, thought it was so cool. Um, and then next thing you know, she's defending her superintendents because she's like, this guy has so much experience, but he has no college degree.
Yep.
But he is one of the best at what he does. And the board was like, no, we really want somebody with a college degree. And she's like, so, even if you don't go to college and you have the skills,
Mhm.
there's a place for leadership, because he was a direct report running all the maintenance for this.
Yep.
It's a pretty nice city, maybe about 80, 90,000 people over there. And so I'm thinking that she's like an anti-college stuff or whatever, and she's like, no, she's getting ready to finish up her doctorate in college. So here she is. When you hear her story, you think that she's maybe dropped out of high school or something, but
Yeah.
she's going all the way, and yet she's saying there's so many paths inside of Parks and Rec. So if this is a industry that means something to you, you should give it a shot.
Exactly. I agree completely.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about some of these special events that you're running in your park system because I noticed you said y'all have 2 or 3 weekly that s
And sometimes more. I think it depends. So naturally in New England, right? So spring to fall, it's super condensed, right? So you
Mhm,
have everything going on at
mhm,
pretty much every day of the week. So starting, I don't know, the 12th of
mhm.
April, we'll have an Earth Day event. And then it goes into our annual egg hunt event, which thousands of people, right? We buy 35,000 eggs,
Oh
which
my
is a lot.
gosh.
Yeah,
I
it's a lot.
hide. You must have an army hiding these these
It's
eggs.
it's a lot of volunteer effort to do this,
Yeah.
and then it's a madhouse, right? So you're trying to control the chaos.
Uh-huh.
Um, so that's one of our larger events, but then it goes into actual like event season. So you have our signature summer concert series that goes on every Thursday evening. So, we have a different band from like 7 to 9 at night. You got a variety of vendors. We usually do some activities. And that's always a great time. We get people not just from South Windsor, but people from all over Connecticut, honestly.
Mhm.
Just for the bands and just for the ambiance, and they enjoy it. And then you got things like our movie nights. So we do, the outdoor movies. We actually do a dive-in movie over at the pool. People love that. And then you got things like farmers market, which is an ongoing event every single week. I call it an event. It's a program and it's an event because it's so long. It goes from June to
Mhm.
October. So you have things like that, and then you just got a random pop up of things. So like we'll have pop up in the parks. So it's our initiative to connect with the community with different civic organizations. So whether that's like handing out ice cream over at the splash pad, having the police come partner with us at another park to teach people how to fly drones. So many different things, right?
Right.
It's fun.
Yeah. Tell me about your farmer's market. I'd love to hear it.
Mm.
I'm a big fan of farmer's market. I go to, one on Thursdays like today and Saturdays where I get all my meat from. I'm one of these carnivore but guys that, looks for the holy cow that hasn't touched any hormones or something,
Yep.
and you can only find that at farmer's markets, so
Correct. Yeah. So, our farmers market, I've been in this position for a little over 4 years now.
Mhm,
I was approached my second month in the position from a nonprofit organization in town that was made up of mainly seniors
mhm,
demographics, and they were like, "We can't run this farmers market anymore.
mm.
It's all volunteer run." They only had like 12 vendors. They're like, we can't do it anymore. We don't have the manpower." And they were like, "Do you want to take it on?" I personally love farmers markets, so I said, "Sure, why not?" Like not fully, thinking about all the pieces, right? Um, so then fast forward, we had an open space plot in our town that's 4 acres. We dedicated that to a market space.
Mhm.
So now we have like, dedicated market sign, a pavilion, and we've grown that from 12 to 15 vendors to about 48 vendors
Mm.
per week, or 40, not 48, 40. Um, and then you got some food trucks every week. We have a theme every week. And then we also have live music, but it's usually just like, an acoustic or, whatever going
Oh,
on.
wow. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. And then we do a youth education program called The Power of Produce,
Mhm.
which is just allowing young folks to really engage with the local farmers and understanding nutrition and sustainability when it comes to farming. So
Oh, I love it.
it's a great time. And honestly, when it comes down to it, what's better than going around the farmer's market and just getting the fresh produce that you're not going to get anywhere else, right?
Mhm,
So it's fresh, it lasts longer, um, and you're supporting those local farmers, and
mhm.
you might get a variety of seasonal produce that you don't get when you're at the grocery store.
Right.
So it's, letting our community know, like, hey, we're here, we're supporting our local farmers, our local vendors who might own bakeries or different small operations, and we're
Mhm.
also showing them that lens of sustainability, essentially, and environmental impact.
Right. Right, and so much more money goes to the farmer that's
Yes.
producing what you're eating. Um, just from the cattle rancher side, a cousin of mine is in cattle ranching, and he gets about $1 a pound for the cows before they go onto, in this massive 18-wheeler, and
Yeah.
then they spend 90 days just fattening them up, and they put, like, 700 pounds on this poor cow, and, then eventually you buy it for $20 a pound,
Right.
or you can get this cattle rancher that, maybe treats the cows a lot better. There's a lot, they're much healthier cattle, and they would keep living. Um, and now you're giving that $20 per pound or that $9 per pound or something directly to the guy that's raising, your beef.
Yep.
Um, and I don't know any other matter of fact, the guy I spoke to, he's one of 200 cattle ranchers,
Wow.
nationally that raises his cows in this way, and 100% in farmers markets. So, and then the same thing for a lot of the produce or beehive or what do they call that?
Yeah, the
Beekeepers.
beekeepers. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yep. No, and I think that's a big piece, right? So a lot of folks say farmers markets are more expensive, and that's a myth, right? So we talk a lot
Mhm.
about you're getting local produce and you're giving it directly back to those farms and those
Mhm.
vendors. You're actually paying an upcharge when you're going to the grocery store, or maybe it might be a little cheaper, but that apple is, 2 weeks older, for example,
Mhm.
pumped with whatever in terms of pesticides. So
Right.
it's so different. And I'm a big proponent for the farmers market. I think it's a really great thing that we provide for the community, and we're trying to find ways to increase our exposure to the market and make sure that people understand the importance of supporting those local farmers
Mhm.
because times are tough and we understand that, and we're just trying to do our part by educating the community.
Right.
And I think another big piece is just making sure, again, when it comes down to access, is we're partnering with like the state to make sure that, for example, folks that might not be able to afford full price, we're able to match EBT and SNAP benefits. So that's a really
Mm.
great thing that we've brought to the market to provide more access to folks so they don't have to worry about going to the grocery store. They're able to actually provide better nutrition for their families.
Right.
So,
Right,
yeah.
because I think as far as diet's concerned, a lot of the issues are we're not, we're nutrition deficient.
Oh,
We're
yeah.
we might feel full, but we're starving, and so that's why our bodies are searching for more, and so if you have really good nutrient dense, farm to table, you're not buying the same produce. The stuff you find at farmer's market typically has a much higher grade of quality.
Yep.
So if you are what you eat, then you probably wanna make sure you're eating good stuff and not toxic.
Oh, I
Um,
agree. But it's such a great program. So a lot of park and rec departments are taking on farmers markets now.
I've
So
noticed.
yeah.
Well, y'all have the real estate that typically is town center. It's beautiful. You have the facilities, um, and then, many times you end up inheriting a farmer's market that was struggling because it was running on volunteers.
Right.
Um, and there's a guy in California, and he was saying that, they inherited a failing farmer's market, and so they went and recruited an entrepreneur and said, "You can keep all the money. We just want the branding and the credit. So you put city of whatever on it. We'll donate all the property. We'll donate the electricity or whatever." And they just found a little local, lady, and now it's like a super successful farmer's market, and there's food trucks and all kinda stuff there, and it was kinda like a partnership. The c
Yep.
the city doesn't have to run it, but they get all the credit as if they're doing it,
Yeah.
and the people get a successful farmer's market. So it's like a hybrid between city government partnering with entrepreneurship, and then they get to help create a very, successful business, in their downtown area.
And I do think the partnership piece, it's important. And I think that's how Parks and Recreation we're really able to extend their offerings half the time, right? Is because we build those vital community partnerships.
Mhm.
And in times where budgets are tight, it's really important that we already had these established partnerships, and then we also start to outreach for additional partnerships to say, like, okay, traditionally we've run these programs, or traditionally we've offered this, but how can we enhance it, or maybe work with you to run these programs so we can continue offering it to our community without having
Mhm.
to overload our staffing or overload our
Mhm.
budget. So it's smart. It depends because every department's different too, right? With their resources.
Yeah. Now, how do y'all get the word out for all of y'all's events? I imagine y'all are big on social media, or were they when you started and you had to kinda transition into being more, uh, technology, social media driven?
So we try our best with social media. We've definitely had a marketing plan over the last couple of years, and we've been having conversations on how are we, posting even more, trying to get more awareness going on with Instagram specifically, right? So Facebook, we have it down pat, right? So you post it prior to the event. we have engagement, we answer the messages, we post some photos after. Instagram, we're really trying to do the live stories. We're
Mhm.
trying to get some photos up, especially for the farmers market. And then we have signs around town people like, and then actually we mail out these seasonal brochures to
Nice.
all the households in town, and then we intentionally put it out at all the businesses as well. So I think it's just a variety of touch points, but we just had the conversation of, do we start to do some more interviews, some Q&A lives on Instagram? Do we
Mhm.
expand on the TikTok because that's where the younger demographics going? Um, it's tough. Marketing's tough.
Yeah.
It really is.
Oh, it is. I am building a media company right now. This was not my 30-year profession prior to this. I was an engineer by trade. And now here I am. I've learned so much about content creation, which is an art in and of itself, like capturing the moment, the interview, make sure the lighting's right, make sure you can hear, the sound is good. And
Yeah.
so you've captured your piece. Now then you gotta edit this thing, and each platform, like you said, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, X, they're all have different ways that they accept content. And so then you're editing. You got all this software and AI that helps you out with that, which is more of a graphics design kind of
Right.
skill set. And then the third piece is distribution. When to post, what to post, like 12 noon on Monday, and they're all different. And so you've got like 3 college degrees just to like put something online, and it's fun. I mean, I am loving it. It's such a shifting gears for me, but marketing, content creation, content distribution, content editing is but it's so powerful. It's
It really tells your story, right? And
Mhm.
every platform tells it differently. And I think for us, it's just trying to find that sweet spot of what is the best platform for the demographic that you're trying to reach, right? So
Mhm.
if you're posting for jobs on Facebook or whatever, you're most likely not going to get the high school demographic. They're not on there, but you might get their parents.
Right.
Um, and the parents do like to see like, oh, my kid's having a great time at camp. That's awesome on Facebook, or this event's coming up. We're not gonna get the senior demographic that way though. They like the signs, they like the newspapers, they like the brochures.
Mhm.
So it's just trying to piece it all together. And again, my staff do a great job at it, but we don't have a dedicated marketing person. So it's just being able to be intentional about, okay, we're in the moment, we're at the program, like how are we going to capture this? And then take the time to put it out so that it is a positive asset for the department.
Mm. Yeah, and we actually work with a few cities to be, part of that technical arm. I mean, obviously, if we're working remotely for a city, we can't be on site at a farmer's market, but then we can help edit that video and post it and use all of these. Gosh, I think we must have not quite 12. I think we've got 9 subscriptions to different things we use, and I think it's over like $700 a month if you add them all together. And just so that they can do their job
Right.
and post stuff and edit stuff and use all these tools, but, it can be challenging to bring that into your Parks and Rec. We did have one city that had a local printer that for free advertised, created a bulletin, kinda like an
Mm,
old church bulletin. It
yeah.
actually exactly like an old church, but if you ever been to a church and they're
Yep.
like, "This is when the times are on Sunday in our events," but then on the back page, there's all these ads,
Yep.
and so they actually would, um, tell everybody that was going on what was going on in the city for free, and then they would sell ads to local companies that would wanna be on that bulletin, and so it didn't cost the city anything to get their word out, so and that was a partnership between a local printer and a city, so if that's helpful to anybody, maybe they can get their print work done for nothing.
No, that'd be
Um,
great. 'Cause I mean, these brochures, it's a big financial
mhm,
piece, but that it works for us. It's successful for us. So, that's
yeah,
something that we invest in and we make sure that we will continue to do so. But having those ads in those local businesses and, even selling space to those civic groups, they'll pay like 150 to have their,
mhm,
advertisement in there. It helps offset the cost. Yeah.
yeah, and the elderly, the older people do kinda like that still
Yeah.
printed. stuff. If you had to guess, what's the percentage in participation of the different demographic or age groups? Is it like, 20% of our facilities and programming and effort goes into people over the age of 50, and then we've got after school care? Like, could you maybe
Yeah, so I would say about 70% of what we do is for 18 and under, right? Like, I'd
mhm,
say 70% right now,
and that's like
comfortably.
athletics, after school care, summer programming, stuff like that, sports, stuff like that?
Yeah, sports, things of that nature. Like, we do have, again, we have the adult programs for, like, fitness, pickleball, water aerobics. They can do adult swim lessons. The events are obviously catered to everyone. The market, we obviously see an older demographic at the farmers market. But we have a huge camp program, huge basketball program, before and after school, preschool, just a variety of different sport camps and drama camps and cooking classes. And
Mhm,
so that's mainly the young demographic. In the pool, it's mainly families that buy those pool passes.
mm,
Although we have seen a big increase in our seniors, and they have like a little senior island kind of going on at the pool. So they are there. It's just trying to figure out more programming to maybe engage them because we do have a very active senior center
mm,
in town. So it's like trying to figure out like where we can partner versus like you're doing great things, we're doing great things, and we'll stay in our lane too. So
mm.
it's figuring out that piece.
Alright, so we've covered, you coming into this industry, what it's like working in this industry. Let's shift gears and go a little into, your local state organization and NRPA, because I know
Mhm.
you're kinda active, especially with, the YPN part of NRPA, so maybe would you
Yeah.
like to start with the state organization?
Yeah, so I am one of the chairs for the Connecticut Young Professional Network.
Mhm,
We started that. It was not a thing at all in Connecticut. So we approached the association about 3 years ago at this point. We had some preliminary meetings with young folks in the state because we realized that Connecticut people weren't staying to work that were younger. A lot of people were leaving. You had the older directors, assistant directors, but there wasn't a lot of young people staying, and we were
mm,
like, okay, this is going to become a problem.
mhm,
So we worked to make that space for young folks in the state to have roundtables. So now every single, not every month, but almost every month, we have roundtable discussions on topics that are pertinent to young professionals. And then we also meet up at the annual conference and we do a session there where they can network and also kind of talk through some challenges that they might have. And it's giving them that space to feel empowered and welcome in Connecticut, but it's also giving them that space to network with other people that are young professionals going through the same thing, so they have their own their own friend group almost in a sense, right, of
mhm,
colleagues, and they're able to call them whenever they have issues or when they're having successes. So it's been a nice thing in Connecticut to build that up. um, but my big piece right now is the National Rec and Park Association. So I've been involved with that for the last 4 years.
mhm,
The Young Professional Network, the NRPA, is one of the reasons why I stayed in this profession as well, because I felt I had that space where I could, ask questions without being judged. I had the space where I can now make a network of other professionals that, 35 and under, where we could be like, hey, I've never experienced this before. Like, can we walk through this? Or have you
mhm.
guys dealt with this? And I've
Can you
kind of found that core group of people, you
can you
know?
give us an example of one of those, dumb questions you were embarrassed to ask because you feel like you should know this, but you're just starting? So what are some of the common questions that somebody starting at this, uh, might be embarrassed to answer or ask?
I think it's tough when it comes down to dealing with like political committees, right? So I think I had to ask a few times, like, how would you handle trying to navigate getting your park commission on board with this new program because they've been doing it for this way for 20 years, and just
Mm,
kind of talking advice on how to navigate like those commission and board dynamics. because it's political, right? And if
Mhm,
you've never done it before, it can be very overwhelming. And someone
mhm.
who's been in the career for 20 years, they're like, "Ah, it's no big deal, you know.
Right.
You presented this way, you call it about that way."
Yeah.
Or even like writing out like your first like bid documents for a giant project. Like, hey, can you help look this over, before I submit this? So it's
Right.
just having that resource in that group of people. And so now I'm fortunately been given the opportunity to be the chair of the Young Professional Network for NRPA. And
Mhm.
we have like 50 people a month on our call, which is awesome
Wow.
from all across the United States. We get a variety of speakers that are young and older professionals to present on topics that folks have submitted that they would like to learn more about. So,
Mm,
um, advocacy. So that's a big piece in Parks and Recreation, learning how to advocate, learning how to write grants and like what's that process look like, learning, you know, pieces on budgets and financial sustainability, learning pieces on park maintenance.
mhm.
So people have submitted all these concerns or questions, and now we're able to develop like educational sessions in a space where you can talk it out.
Yeah. I had, one of the directors, he could probably put on a master class about how to smooze your politicians, and he was and that's the terminology he used, and
Yep.
basically he said, "Just keep them involved," and, like,
Yep.
he would create a ribbon cutting ceremony if he painted a gym floor. Or anything at all. He was constantly celebrating and
Yep.
inviting the people he knew he was gonna have to ask for funding from to these celebrations to cut the ribbon, because they are elected officials, so it's important to them to know that the people that are voting for them, are having good experiences, and so anytime you can invite your elected officials to, these public facing events, then they're much more likely to go to bat for you, take your side on funding. But if the only time you're reaching out to them is when you need money, it's a lot harder to ask
And I
for
think
their
that
help.
plays a part in community partnerships as well, right? So
Yeah.
elected officials, community partnerships, it needs to be a two-sided piece. But it's
Mhm.
a big thing for people to learn when they're first in the industry. It can be
I bet.
overwhelming and scary, you know, how to build those relationships, how to ask for money, right? Like how to
Mhm.
work together on projects to make things successful for both parties.
Yeah.
It's a lot to learn.
Now, what's y'all's, what kinda budget are y'all working with annually? Um
So about 2.8 million.
Mhm.
And that is park and recreation together, but separate. So for us, we are like recreation is non-tax funded, so we
Mhm.
rely specifically on subsidy, and we also rely on like user fees and sponsorships.
Mm.
Whereas our administrative team, my staff, and our parks are all from the general fund and they're tax based. So,
Mm.
but together we are 2.8 million.
Now, any idea, now this might be a rough number,
Mm.
to come up with, but if you had to sell everything that you, are operating, the
Mhm.
land, the facilities, the baseball fields, the senior centers, just put it on the open market, sell it. Any idea what you're working with is worth, that you have to manage?
More than that. I mean, yeah, so we've had the conversation with our parks division that our budget is, whatever size. And to big picture, we have 9 public parks, right? You got
Mhm,
over a dozen athletic fields, 265 acres of open space, 34,000 linear square feet of sidewalk and trails.
mhm.
That's millions of dollars right there. I
Yeah.
mean,
I'd
and for
love to
us, we're
I'd love
adding additional assets, so it's just
right.
continuing to add the millions of dollars, but our budget is like this, and it's not just us, it's everywhere. Budgets are like this, and you have millions worth of assets. I
Mhm.
should do that exercise, though. It's
I
gonna be
would love
scary
to
enough.
see it.
Yeah.
It would not shock me if you were managing $100 million book of assets with a $2.8 million annual budget, and this is your staff and stuff. But I
Yeah.
think if park directors could, even when they're like, "What do you do?" and instead of saying, "Well, I'm a park and rec director," you could say, and I got this idea from a retired park and rec director. He said, "What we should be saying is I run a multi-million-dollar agency that's over $100 million assets in the heart of my city that, uh, focuses on the health and well-being and the beautification of our city. And I'm like,
I like that.
well, that's a much more powerful explanation of what I do, but it's exactly what you do.
Yeah.
Um, and it's so diverse, the skill sets that it's demanding of you. And maybe we can talk a little bit about that. Um,
Mm.
so what has Parks and Rec, and you can even look at this as the example of, people that climb Mount Everest or do hard things.
Yeah.
A lot of times they really do it for what it makes of them, what the process demands that they become for them to accomplish that. So what has Parks and Rec made out of you, or what kind of leader has it forced you to step into this maybe uncomfortable, out of your comfort zone?
It definitely has pushed me out of my comfort zone, I think. So for me, again, I've been here for about 4 years, and I left the Y organization feeling confident in who I was as a leader, right? I knew I was mission driven. I knew that, I had a passion for, making positive impact on the community. But park and recreation has really expanded that skill set of understanding that, I'm learning to be an advocate. I'm a grant writer. I'm a therapist really for my staff, right?
Mhm.
Um, I've learned that I am a extremely empathetic leader, but I've also learned how to, navigate extremely, extremely difficult situations with union staff, with management staff when it comes down to being in the public eye. Um, and I've just learned what my negotiables are and what my non-negotiables are. And I think being put in a situation where you're uncomfortable, it really teaches you who you are and it expands your skill set. So I've been
Yeah.
very fortunate to learn who I am in a different level, and also learn who all of my staff are and being able to navigate and work with all of them. And I think it's made me a stronger person in and outside of work, honestly.
Mhm.
Uh, but when it comes down to it, I feel like I'm still learning every day.
Yeah.
Uh, I'm still learning all the park pieces of it, because I'm huge on the outdoors and being an enthusiast, and that park is playing an essential role in everyone's lives. It's just learning the nitty gritty pieces of it when it comes to, like, open spaces, athletic field renovations, invasive species,
Mhm.
things that you're always learning. And now I'm like, wow, I can add all of these to my resume.
Right. Yeah, there's never-ending things you can learn about in Parks and Recreation when you're kinda steering this massive ship that's and honestly, this ship, how old is your park department? How long has it been around?
So we became a combined division in 2001.
Mhm.
So, before that, they were under Public Works. So,
Mm. And the
we're actually a
facilities.
large department too, like within the state. So Connecticut, like our rec and park together, we're probably one of the top 4 largest departments.
Wow.
Yeah.
And what's your oldest facility? How long has it been around?
I would say Veterans Memorial Park Pool is fairly old. It's 25 years old. Our Boundless Playground's 20 years old. But Nevers Park, it's back from, I don't know, it's 40-ish years old at that point.
Mm.
So I think they've always had like the parks, but it's really the assets that are 20 to 25 years old. Because when park and recreation combined, they really focused on enhancing things past athletic fields, right? Parks used to be, let's just maintain the athletic fields. And when they came together, they were like, oh, this is more than just athletic fields. This
Mhm.
is, really creating trails and outdoor spaces, and yes, the athletic fields and the complexes, but playgrounds and concession and outdoor fitness. So it's really evolved.
Mhm. Yeah, and it's super common across America to have 100-plus-year-old parks that, are in various degrees of maintenance and upkeep,
Yeah.
and someone like yourself comes along and is like the ninth park and rec director on this massive old ship that they're steering, and you'll be in charge of it for a decade or 2, and then
Yeah.
so it's really like you're taking the torch. Um,
Yeah.
doing what you can, running the place, making it better, leaving it better than you left it.
I
So
agree.
if leaving a legacy is important to you as, a career path, I mean,
Mm.
man, you can't I don't know of an industry that allows you to leave such a legacy like or that y'all do.
Yeah, I think it's crazy now driving around the community. I'm like, "Oh, wow, we were a part of that," "We made
Mhm.
that happen." For me, I'm more, person driven, right? People driven, just making
Sure.
sure that they have those experiences and whatever, and just thinking like, "Hey, someday one of those kids or one of those staff can be like, hey, that, Molly made that moment of impact for me." But it's also neat to see when you're going around like, oh, I did that splash pad and I made that enhancement over to that park and we made this trail fully accessible or we did this bike path. So it's nice to see it too.
Yeah. Yeah, I noticed, and maybe that's more of a male-female trait. It's like men seem to like to build stuff, women seem to like take care of people.
Yeah.
And there are certainly that all that's on a spectrum, but,
Yeah.
because I know a lot of g matter of fact, I just if I interviewed 7 people this week for this show, um, 4 of the men I know for sure were like, "I love to serve people."
Yep.
So this is definitely a servant's heart industry.
Yes.
If you don't have a servant's heart, you're gonna struggle
Yes.
in this industry, finding meaning and purpose.
Exactly.
Um, but there are those builders that are among, your industry that just love to build parks, build playgrounds, build
Yep.
facilities, just to leave solid infrastructure that people can have those special moments, those family picnics, that kinda stuff. If you're into that as well, man, you can build some crazy beautiful stuff. I mean, I spend a lot of time in New Orleans, and the work that they've done on this old park system is stunning over the years.
No, I think it can be incredible, and, you know, it's nice to see, like, over time too, like, how can you enhance certain pieces that will last 20,
Mhm.
30, 40 years,
Yeah.
and think about every day, like, how many people walk through those parks, how many people are sitting there on the benches or, watching the baseball games, playing on the playground. It's insane when you think about it. I mean, it's thousands.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it really is. Um, any idea what I know some cities do actually track because I think there's an app that cities are starting to use that kinda geolocate with your with, their cell phones, and so they can
Yeah.
track how many people are stepping foot on the physical property owned by Parks and Recreation. Do y'all is that something y'all do or
So we do not use the AI tracking. We've looked into it, and we've done demos on some of our parks, and during high season, it's several thousand people a day. And I
Mhm.
think when it comes down to it, it's because you have things like a variety of sports going on. People love the trails, but we also have the splash pad, and that's splash pads are a
Mhm.
big draw. Like people, and it was funny because you can see like where people are coming from, and you have people from like Massachusetts and New York or
Wow.
whatever. And so it's just crazy to think like your park, your facility has that outreach. So
Mhm.
it's nice, but we do not have the AI piece. That would be cool to see.
Yeah, that was somewhat of my background. I was into, a big data play. I used to do some venture capital work, and when big data came out, this is a big data play. So if you've got a cell phone that has a general, location, let's say your residence is 100 miles away or 50 miles away, and then this phone comes in and it goes to your park or your special event or your farmer's market, then you can actually show your elected officials, "Hey, our properties, whatever we're doing, for some reason, 100,000 people came from 50 miles away to spend money and buy gas and stay in a hotel, and then they stayed for 2 or 3 days." And you can get that real-time data now, because you can be like, "Okay, if this cell phone predominantly lives over here, and then for a day or 2 they come over here, um, then this is outside money that your park system is bringing in as a revenue generator, which is generating tax revenue and stuff like that."
Yep.
And so all that can be done. Now, I don't know which companies are doing it, but it's absolutely possible.
I think a lot are doing it now, and that it brings up a good piece that park and recreation, we do make positive economic impact on
Oh,
communities.
absolutely.
Bringing in people from all over for sport tournaments, for our
Mm.
special events. we do a large outdoor volleyball tournament. It's like the largest one in New England. So you have
Mhm.
folks staying there all weekend at our hotels. You know, they're going to the restaurants, going to the brewery, and they're investing in South Windsor. So it's incredible because people usually think parks and recreation. You guys, yes, you guys have athletics, you guys do swim lessons, childcare, but no, we're so much more than that. We're actually
Mhm.
generating revenue for the community.
Oh,
So
yeah.
yeah,
The greatest natural resource of a community that's renewable, 100% renewable, is tourism. If
yep,
you can draw people in, they will come and just hand you money
yep,
because you're doing something. There's some parade going on, there's some festival, there's something, and I live in one of the tourist meccas of the planet Earth in New Orleans, and it just kinda rains money over here, and they live somewhere else, use
yeah,
other cities' infrastructure, and then but when they want to go to a park or go to a festival or go to a parade, they come here, spend tons of money, and then go back and work
yeah,
somewhere else. And so anytime you can get tourism to come in for whatever reason, could just be like a volleyball tournament,
yeah,
that's a big win for a city.
yep.
Um, okay, what can you say about maybe in closing remarks, I would like you to kinda give a pitch to YPN, how you can get involved if you're a
Yeah.
young director, where do they find y'all?
Yeah, so NRPA YPN. So we are open to folks that are new in the industry and 35 and younger. So we don't age, like, we don't card, I mean, for your age though. So,
Mhm,
I mean, if you want to come join a call, so we are the third Tuesday of every single month, and it's
mhm.
at 2 p.m. Eastern time. So we do about an hour um, educational session. So you can find us. We have the NRPA Young Professional Network Facebook page. We are on NRPA Connect. And then feel free, anyone that wants to shoot me an email, I'm happy to send over our educational sessions for the year. So it's molly.keys at southwindsor-ct.gov. I'd be happy to chat YPN and if anyone's interested in being involved as a leader.
Yeah, fantastic. I don't know if I'm allowed, but I'd love to attend one so I can speak more so I can represent y'all a little bit better.
Yeah, no, that'd be fantastic.
And then, I had spoken with Gabby. I'm going to, we're gonna try to get together, and I'd like it if you were involved to create another little 1 or 2-minute video, just for
Awesome.
YPN that
Yeah.
then y'all could send out just as promotional, and we'd be happy to do that for y'all.
No, that'd be fantastic. Gabby is a part of our marketing team for YPN, and she
Mhm.
does a fantastic job. She's an
Yeah.
awesome director. Yeah.
Oh, she's a little powerhouse.
Yeah. Yeah, she is.
She is
Yes.
phenomenal. Um, well, thank you so much for your time, Molly. Thanks for coming on the show, and,
Thanks, Craig. Appreciate
thank you
it.
for doing all the hard work you do to keep that part of Connecticut gorgeous and fun.
Well, thank you. Thank you for being an advocate for Parks and Rec. And I look forward to seeing all the other weekly episodes.
Yeah,
Awesome.
fantastic.
Thank
Great
you.
having you on the show. Thank you, Molly. All right, bye. All right, so that was Molly Keys over at South Windsor, Connecticut. Great park and rec director that's young, 30 years old, in charge of a multi-million-dollar facility in her, park system with, close to a $3 million budget, 21 full-time employees. Um and in an industry that really demands Molly to be so much. And so I can imagine that it's a forced growth. She must become a better communicator, must become a better leader, must learn to adapt and overcome. A lot of her stakeholders are 20, 30 years older than her, and she's having to learn how to speak with them, lead her staff, work hard for the community, put on special events. And so if you're just looking, for an industry that's fulfilling, that's challenging, that's gonna make you a better person, Molly is a great example of someone that is just in there, just becoming an amazing individual through her work. Um, I know many park and rec directors that are like, "I can't believe I get paid to do this. I get paid to do great things, to bring joy into my community, into people's lives." And so I really enjoyed having her, as such a young director and young leader. And then she's also very active in YPN, the Young Professionals Network that, NRPA puts on. So if you're a young professional and you'd like to get more involved with people around your age that are still trying to figure things out, that are, may have some questions about how to do, like Molly said, how do you represent the park systems to the elected officials? I've never done this before. I was a big into sports, I've been in the trails, but now I've got to represent my entire department. This is where you can ask these questions, get these answers from the veterans who have done it for 30 years. They were where you are when they were younger and had to kind of learn the hard way, so they can give you some tricks and tips on how to do it better. And we've got quite a few older professionals that are sitting on the back end. Let me see who I interviewed just the other day. It was one of my most recent ones. Might have been yesterday or something. Let me see. Was it Chris? Yes, Chris Deal over in Missouri, 40 years as a director. Here's a common story. Retired. They pulled him out of retirement to really do a turnaround of the culture of this new cities that he's with, to really reinvigorate and restart his park department. So as an example, on this show, we'll have young directors like Molly and Gabby that are, taking the torch and just running a good race. And then you've got people like Chris Deal that are sitting on top of 40 years of wisdom, of building and running a park system. And so this is the kind of content we want to do on at noon, 5 days a week. And so if you're a park and rec director, you're coming on the show, fantastic. Thank you so much for telling your story here. Our goal is to create a strong platform that's created and distributed online, so that all parks and rec directors and parks professionals in general will have good content on a daily show. So we do this show 12 noon. I would like to expand the show, and I'm going to continue to talk about this as it kind of works itself out in my head. But I want to create an hour show before this show, dedicated to superintendents, park maintenance, the whole maintenance side of all these facilities that we maintain. So whether it's maintaining the lawn and the fields, um, the sports complex, the swimming pools, the farmers markets, the community centers, how do we maintain it? That's like a whole almost hidden side. Like, you think about it, you walk on a park and everything's cut, everything's clean, trash is taken out, the water's working, the electricity's working, the lights are like everything's working. And you just get to go push your kid on the swing or have a picnic or propose to your bride, something. Um, everything's just done. Well, who's behind? I mean, does your yard maintain itself? You've got a tiny little yard around your property. How much weed eating and grass cutting and picking up the trash and raking the leaves and hiring an electrician to fix that light and hiring an HVAC guy to fix that air conditioner, or that, oh my gosh, the water is exploding. Let's get a plumber out here. Let's get a carpenter out here. Let's paint this stuff. There's rust. There's stuff falling apart. Mother Nature is ripping apart all property globally all the time. Um, and then there might be vandals, there might be homeless, there might be different cultures, and so there is a staff behind every Parks and Rec department that's, in addition to putting on all these events, there's a maintenance crew that, like little ants, are maintaining all these hundreds of millions of dollars in each city's worth of property with this little budget that they have. And so if you see a park maintenance individual out there cutting the grass, picking up trash, please just, thank you for what you're doing. Thank you for working every day. And I know they get paid to do this job and stuff, but sometimes the maintenance is somewhat of a thankless job of our Parks and Rec department. So anything you can do, if you're using a park system, please, thank everyone you see working to keep your parks looking good and beautiful. So I would like to create a show prior to this noon show. So it's going to take me a few months to get all this ramped up. But anyway, this is the general idea. Then we have my show with the leaders and directors, about their life, what it's like, what's their why, what's their purpose, why are they still here, what keeps them so attached to this industry, and then I'd like to follow this with the whole programming side, and we can put, we can still think about the topics we want in that, but maybe how to run a senior center, how to run a sports complex that's geared more towards sports tourism or maybe recreation, whether it's, how to run well, we could even do special events. We could probably do a whole show just on special events because there's so many ways that a special event can be run, and whether they're weekly or annual or revenue generation or stuff like that. So anyway, I think that's over the time over this year, we could maybe expand it out to kind of a 3-hour show that would start with maintenance, and we would have like the why we do what we do, which would be my noon show, and then directly following programming. So anyway, just some thoughts of where we'll be taking the show. Of course, if you'd like to support us, you can support us by buying this light right here from me. This is something that I used to do in a former life. I was electrical engineer turned lighting engineer turned manufacturer, and I ended up closing out a lot of my business and just totally focused on parks and recreation and creating a workhorse, very durable LED light for neighborhood parks. And I've moved thousands of these. Semi-retired from that, but now that I'm doing this, building a media company for Parks and Rec, this is going to be the way I fund it. I like to say this is kind of our version of the Girl Scout cookie to get girls on campouts. This is our LED light that we use to build this media company dedicated to Parks and Recreation. So if you have a little neighborhood park that needs LED lights and you just need 4 or 5 lights, please consider us. It's very budget friendly, but it does not, we did not skimp at all on the durability and the longevity of this light. Just because I was in a former life, I was the young electrician in the bucket truck changing this stuff out, and then ended up going down the rabbit hole of creating a good solid product that I could put my name behind. So drag this product in with me to help fund all the work that we are doing. In addition to that, if you need someone to help you manage your social media with all the software tools and subscriptions that are necessary to create, edit, and distribute good social media content across these platforms, please consider us. We have a lot of these people on staff working hard to build out the Daily Parks and Rec show, that we would love to be able to help you create something special for a special event that you might have, whether it's a farmer's market or whether it's a festival that's coming up. We can create a little 1 or 2 minute video for you to then distribute across your social media. And then we also have social media managers on staff that could help you as well, managing the distribution of your content that you want to get out to your community. So we're looking for partnerships like that. Again, these are funding sources so that we can continue to staff up, create, and even show up at these live events like we've done so far this year. I think we're on our 5th state association. And of course, we want to go and take a good crew out to the national and regional conventions this year. So this is what our mission will be all year, is to build this media company up, to be the voice of Parks and Recreation, to be to give y'all a solid platform, and really to give you your own media company and your own channel to learn everything Parks and Rec. So just like we have entire news channels dedicated to politics, dedicated to sports, dedicated to finance. We want to create a media company dedicated to Parks and Recreation in America, and where you can just come get news, you can come get understand the story, and you can maybe even understand how to maintain and how to run park facilities. And we want to create this media layer that is for the benefit of Parks and Recreation. So appreciate all the love and support that everybody's been throwing at me for this crazy vision of mine, which was just an idea I had about a year ago. And somehow the world just put it in my lap to do it and put it on my heart to do it. And so here we are. And thank you for the talented team behind the scenes. There's me included. There's 6 of us that are working hard to put this entire media company together. So thanks to the team. And then thank you for all the love and support that we're getting from the entire Parks and Rec community to just keep going. And thank you to all of our guests that have come and are coming on to the show. We really appreciate you being open to telling your story publicly, so that people, especially young kids college and high school kids can see what it's like. They kind of pull back the curtain and see what it's like to be in the industry of parks and recreation, and perhaps consider this as a place they want to spend their career and their life's energy in, because I can tell you this is a super fulfilling, impactful, legacy driven industry that keeps its people coming back for more for many, many years. I can say how many people I've interviewed that 30, 40 years in this industry and just feel like they lived a super rich life and career, that it wasn't all about just paycheck. It's like they get 9 paychecks on a Friday. One is got dollars, and the other one's got purpose, and the other one's got fulfillment, and the other one's got meaning and legacy and impact. And it's like, wow, what a rich week that's been. So if that sounds like something you want to do, I'd really recommend high school, college kids get exposed somehow to this industry. Many of you in Parks and Rec are already experiencing it through summer camp, through volunteering, through working at concession stands. Maybe you haven't considered, I could help lead this organization, and perhaps I want to um, get a degree in it. Or, as Molly said, you don't need a specific parks and recreation degree to get into this industry. This industry needs so much talent from so many different skill sets, from so many different careers, and there's many paths in. I have spoken to directors that have come from accounting, that have come from sports, that have come from just the private sector. Like literally, some people own their own business. One guy owned a furniture store, and now he went from furniture store, not directly to director, but that was his. He was just an entrepreneur for 20 years. And then a friend of his was retiring as the director and says, I want to get you in, see if you like it. Can you help me? And then eventually, fast forward 4 or 5 years, now he's the director, and did not know anything about it. All the way from people, like Gabby, who was born in Parks and Rec, and she went all the way through it, was a Park and Rec kid, and knew from a very young age that this is what she wanted to do, and everything in between. So, thank you guys so much for listening and attending our show. Please like and share us. Oh, and today, our 75th episode, is the first time that LinkedIn has allowed us to air live on our LinkedIn account, our LinkedIn Daily Parks and Rec Show account. So this is the first episode aired live on our LinkedIn Daily Parks and Rec account. So if you were listening, if you're one of the 100, because this is a new account for us, let me see how many members we're up to real quick. If you are one of the 168, oh, we picked up another one, 168 followers of the Daily Parks and Rec Show on our LinkedIn account, this is the first time we've aired live on it. And so really appreciate you guys, because we had to get it over 150 before they would even allow that functionality to open up. And same thing with YouTube. We've got to get that above 1,000 subscribers. And we're not looking for a huge audience. We're looking for a targeted audience. Our audience is Parks and Recreation. So we're not looking to service any community. This is a very small community nationally. It's only 300,000 people nationally. It's under 300,000 Parks and Rec employees, I think, nationwide. I've seen that number. I'm thinking that's still accurate. My memory serves me right. So we're not looking to create some media company that has 5 million subscribers. There's not that many Parks and Rec people nationwide. So if we got all of them, it's like 200 and something thousand people. So every Park and Rec professional that is on all of our channels counts, because it's a tiny niche market, and we want to keep it that way. We don't want to expand out to serve city government and any other kind of state government or municipal. We want to focus everything we're doing on Parks and Recreation. So please share it with other Parks and Rec professionals, so we can just get the word out about what this industry is all about, what this industry does for your community. And I really appreciate all the support that everybody's been giving me. So I will see y'all here tomorrow, 12 noon on Friday, for another great show. And then wishing y'all a great weekend. And love you guys. Thank y'all so much. Bye.
When you invest in our high-performance LED sports arena lights, you're not just upgrading your facilities, you're helping us illuminate the untold stories of parks and recreation communities. Every purchase directly supports the Daily Parks and Rec Show, a media platform on a mission to celebrate the heart and soul of our local parks and programs. From after-school activities to summer leagues, these spaces shape lives, and their stories deserve to be told. Why your support matters. Capturing community impact. Your contribution helps us assemble a talented team of digital artists, storytellers, and filmmakers to create compelling videos, articles, and short films that spotlight how Parks and Rec programs change lives. Sharing untold stories. From a child's first home run to lifelong friendships forged on the court, we'll document these priceless moments and share them with the world. Inspiring the next generation. By highlighting the joy, inclusivity, and opportunities found in our parks, we foster a deeper appreciation for these vital community spaces. Light up arenas, brighten futures. Your choice to install LED sports arena lights isn't just a smart investment in energy efficiency and performance, it's an investment in stories that deserve to be told. Be part of the story. Take action today. Purchase LED sports arena lights and help us shine a spotlight on the heartwarming stories that define our parks and communities. Contact us now to learn more about our products and how your support fuels the Daily Parks and Rec Show. Together, we'll shine a light on the moments that matter most.